Good morning. But really not that great of a morning, actually, at all. So a week ago today, a very large storm came through most of Nebraska. Grant and I were both out of state while this storm happened, and we just have been seeing a lot of reports, but we're back home now, and we are taking this morning to assess the damage that happened. So it was 80 to 90 mile an hour winds. And yeah, I've joked a lot about like, oh, it's so windy today in Nebraska. It's like 100 miles an hour. But this was like actually 100 mile an hour straight line winds. And if you know anything about corn, it doesn't hold up that great to straight line winds like that. And neither does things like bin sites or pivots. And there was a lot of power lines down, and there was a few 100,000 people around Nebraska who were without power for several days. And so I just wanted to show you some things that happened to us and around us as we drive around and look at what this storm did to us. So right before Grant and I left for our trip, it rained almost an inch. That's why we were able to leave in the first place. And so because we got that rain, all the pivots, we went around and shut them off. And so there wasn't any water in the pipes to weigh them down. And so when that big wind came, this happened. So there was no weight in the pivot, no water in the pivot, so it was empty. And when that wind came through, it just kind of toppled it over. So the end pipe here is completely bent and disconnected in several places. Here's a sprinkler. The pivot stop, this is the pivot stop here, and that it was against because it had finished its round of watering. The wind just completely took it and flipped it around. Yeah, so this pipe here, not supposed to be bent that way. Here's the sign that used to be on the pivot. Can display this in the shop now.
Cool.
Cool as in the totally not cool way.
We're auctioning the sign off. Give me $1. This pivot we've had some other damage that we'll go see that we'll probably just leave this pivot here for the rest of the year and come fix it this winter. Wonder where that blew in from. It's kind of cool looking.
Oh wow.
Sure it's not poop. These pivots are connected with just big hooks. You can see it just twisted that thing. And this boot goes around. Whew. And it just ripped the boot right off. That holds all the water in. This tower looks okay.
I would like to mention that we're poking around here and there's no power to this pivot. Anything that has been connected to power has been completely ripped to shreds. So we're not like playing with live wires or anything. So
yeah. See, this span is relatively straight compared to this one. We're at the point now and it just ripped it right off of its little perch. Here's the wires. Just ripped them clean off. What a shame.
Major bummer.
That tower will probably be able to set up. But...
Okay, so this is a cornfield, or what's left of it. So these leaves have just been completely stripped. from all the wind. And you know, if you know anything about plants, the leaves and photosynthesis are how they produce all the food that they need. And with the leaves all stripped like this, they're not going to be able to properly produce the energy that they need to keep growing. And then if you look over here at these, this has just been completely snapped clean off. So this snapped off below the ear even. And so even though the tassels are out, there's nothing for the tassels to even pollinate because it's just been snapped clean off. So the whole field doesn't look like this, but if you walk further in here, I mean, quite a bit of it looks like this. So again, we're on the end rows here because it's pretty difficult to film in the middle of a cornfield. But do you see the lean that this corn has? So this would be straight up, and it's all just kind of bent to the side here, especially if you go in here like that. See, that's all leaning to the side. So, I mean, this corn is still standing, and it's still got, here's the ear right here, the developing ear with the silks, and each of these silks is attached to a corn kernel. And then up here at the top, this tassel, the pollen is going to shake off, come down, hit these silks, and pollinate little kernels. It's just going to be a serious pain to harvest this, but it's still standing, so that's good. At the beginning of the year, I had a long meeting with my crop insurance agent, and this is when that comes in handy. So you buy crop insurance hoping to never have to use it, but I guess now I have to learn how to file a crop insurance claim. So I need to make some phone calls to people. Here's another example of storm damage. These aren't our bins, but as you can see, it's just across the road and they're just absolutely flattened. Okay, so now I'm not on Grant's farm, but on my farm here. Dad actually farms this field, but from that same storm, we have that end pipe completely twisted off. So that's all gonna have to be replaced. So at least the pivot is standing, but we can't run the pivot until that is fixed. It's a bummer. Okay, I'm in a seed corn test plot here, which this is just kind of weaker than normal commercial corn in the first place. You can see that it's a lot shorter, but just all along the rows, stuff just got absolutely demolished here. That's not coming back. And then this just continues. I've walked pretty far into the field already, and it just continues on like this. So I feel grateful that the whole field hasn't been flattened, because I've seen that happen to farmers before, but not exactly pleased with the damage I'm seeing.
This is not our farm, this is a neighbor's farm. And he got it pretty bad. These were all operational bins that got hammered by the wind. You can see the whole roof got blown off. This one dented it in. This one got completely crushed. And actually, it fell on his tractor. His tractor was parked right underneath of it. Tractor was parked right there, and you can see it right there. The cultivator held up the bin from crushing the tractor's cab. There's the roof. It's all balled up now. But these bins are like big pop cans when they're empty. They just get crushed. You can see these things are like, I can just bend that with my hand. Just a big pop can. Now when they're full, they are rock solid, and you cannot move these things with a train. But when they're empty, Look at that, just wrinkled it. Folded it. Yeah, there's a lot of farmers around here that lost bins and pivots and corn blown down, but we'll get through it. Here's a good example of bins with stiffeners on the walls. See the little ribs that go up the sides? Yeah, those are just stiffeners, and these bins did not have those. So they blew over. Even this nice big sukat bin here, and way more surface area for the wind to push on, but not a kink in it. Standing strong. This is also a lot newer bin. You can see by the color of it. But these wind stiffeners definitely pay for themselves.
Here is at a neighbor's bin site, or I guess what's left of the bin site. There's a semi truck under all of that crumpled mess. Everything is just toppled right over. Look at that. There is debris. Well, there's a flipped pivot over in that field, but there's debris scattered all along that pivot there. That's where a bin used to be. Here's a John Deere 2950, it looks like. And it's under a crumpled bin. This thing is just absolutely folded in half. It just shows you the power of the winds that rip through here. It's awful. So obviously a lot of destruction. I was sad that I wasn't here for the storm, but also kind of glad that I wasn't here to witness all the destruction firsthand. So I appreciate you watching the video, and I hope this gives you a little look at just the damage that storms can do to farmers, not only in Nebraska, but across the country. So we pray for nice weather all year round, but sometimes stuff like this happens. So hope this kind of just kept you in the loop about what storms can do to us out here in the Midwest.